Welcome to part 2 of the 550 point walkthrough for the adventure. Now we're in the building. We've just cleared the top floor of treasures, which should get us to the ranking of experienced adventurer, and we're going to continue into the bowels of the cave. So I'm going to take the food and I'm going to take the bottle. Just check I'm not carrying anything unnecessary. Last lantern, tasty food, small bottles, impossible dwarf's axe. Okay, we're going to say plug. Foof, it is pitch dark. If you proceed, you're likely to fall into a pit. So we'll light the lamp. Your lamp is now on. You're in a large room with passages to the south, a passage to the west, and a wall of broken rock to the east. There's a large white tool on a rock in the room's centre. So we'll go south. You're in the north-south passage, and we'll go south again. You're in the Hall of the Mountain King. There's keys on the ground here. A 3-foot black rod with rusty star on the end lies nearby. There's several dragon's teeth in a pile on the floor. We'll need all of those, but first of all, we'll go northwest. You're at a division in a narrow passage. 2 spurs run east and north. The main passage exits to the south, so we'll go east. You're in a small dark cubicle of rock. A small passage leads back out to the south. There's no other obvious exit. There's a small mushroom growing on the wall, so we'll take the mushroom. And we'll go south. You're at a division in the passage, so this time we'll take the north division. You're in a large, completely spherical room with polished walls. A narrow passage leads out to the north. On the ground lies a small glass vial filled with an oily liquid, so we'll take the vial. And we'll go north, which takes us back to the division in the passage, and we'll go south, which takes us back to the Hall of the Mountain King. There's keys on the ground here. A 3-foot black rod with rusty star on the end lies nearby. Several dragon's teeth on the pile on the floor. So we'll go east, and it takes us back to the Hall of the Mists, and east again. You're in a small chamber to the east of the Hall of Mists. The walls are composed of rough red sandstone. There's a large cubical chunk of rock in the centre of the room. There's a sword here with its blade plunged deep into the block of stone. The sword is singing quietly to itself. Now I'm not strong enough to take the sword, but I wonder whether mushrooms do your strength. I know Popeye went for spinach, but I'm going to eat the mushroom. As you swallow the mushroom, your mouth becomes numb and everything seems to swirl around you. The effect quickly passes and you find your muscles bulge unbelievably. So we'll take the sword. The singing sword slides easily out of the rock. Okay, we'll go west, back to the Hall of Mists, and we'll go north to the Hall of the Mountain King. In the Hall of the Mountain King, there's keys on the ground here. A 3-foot black rod with a rusty star on the end lies nearby. There's several dragon's teeth on the pile on the floor. There's a threatening little dwarf in the room with you. One sharp, nasty knife is thrown at you. It misses, so we'll throw the axe. You've killed a little dwarf. The body vanishes in a cloud of greasy black smoke, so we'll take the axe, because as I said earlier, there are 7 dwarves. We'll take the rod, take the keys, and take the teeth. Now normally you wouldn't be able to carry this much objects, but the mushroom also gives you the strength to carry more objects, so we'll go southwest from here. You've crawled around some little holes and out of the main passage, so we'll try again. You've crawled around some little holes and out of the main passage, we'll try again. You've crawled around some little holes and out of the main passage, we'll try again. You're in the east-west canyon above a tight canyon. Okay, we'll go down the canyon this time. You're in a wide place in a tight north-south canyon, we'll go north. You're in a tall east-west canyon, a tight crawl goes 3 feet north and seems to open up, so we'll go north again. You're in a room whose walls resemble Swiss cheese. Obvious passages go west, east, northeast, northwest. Part of the room must occupy a large bedrock block, so we'll go west. You're at the east end of the 2-pit room. The floor here is littered with thin rock slabs, which make it easy to descend the pits. There's a path here bypassing the pits to connect passages from east and west. There are holes all over, but the only big one is an all directly over the west pit where you can't get to it, so we'll go west. You're at the west end of a 2-pit room. There's a large hole in the wall above the pit at this end of the room. We'll go down into the pit. You're at the bottom of the western pit of the 2-pit room. There's a large hole in the wall about 25 feet above. There's a tiny little plant in the pit murmuring water, water. So we'll water the plant. The plant spurts into furious growth for a few seconds. You're in the west pit. There's a 12-foot tall beanstalk stretching up out of the pit, bellowing water, water. So go up, and we'll type slab, which is another shortcut to the slab room. You're at the west end of the 2-pit room, top of the 12-foot beanstalks poking out of the west pit. You're in the low circular chamber whose floor is an immense slab of fallen from the ceiling. Slab room. East and west there were once large passages, but they're now filled with boulders. Low small passages go north, south. The south one quickly bends west around the boulders. We'll go up. You're in a secret north-south canyon above a large room. Now this is just off from the canyon where I killed the dragon, but this is a shortcut to it. Now another shortcut word is reservoir. You're at the southern end of a large underground reservoir. A thick cloud of white mist fills the room, rising from the surface of the water and drifting rapidly upwards. The lake is fed by a stream which tumbles out of a hole in the wall about 10 feet overhead and splashes noisily into the water near the reservoir's northern wall. A dimly seen passage exits through the northern wall, but you can't get across the water to get to it. Another passage leads south from here. Okay, so we're going to fill the bottle with water, so we'll say take water. The bottle is now full of water, so we go south. It says you're in a north-south canyon about 25 feet across. The floor is covered by white mist seeping in from the north. The walls extend upwards for well over 100 feet. Suspended from some unseen point far above you is an enormous two-sided mirror. It's hanging parallel to and midway between the canyon walls. The mirror is obviously provided for the use of dwarves, who, as you know, are extremely vain. A small window can be seen in either wall some 50 feet up, so we'll go south again. In the secret north-south canyon above a large room. So we'll type in slab to take us back to the slab room. You're in the slab room, and we go south. It takes us to the west end of the 2-pit room. The top of a 12-foot tall beanstalk is poking out of the west pit, so we'll go down. You're in the west pit. There's a 12-foot beanstalk stretching out of the pit, bellowing water, water. So we'll water the beanstalk, or as we'll say here, water plant. The plant grows explosively, almost filling the bottom of the pit. You're in the west pit. There's a gigantic beanstalk stretching all the way up to the hole. So we'll go up, out of the pit. You're in the west end of the 2-pit room. There's a huge beanstalk growing out of the west pit to the hole. We'll go east, to the east end of the 2-pit room. There's a huge beanstalk growing out of the west pit up to the hole. We'll go down. You're at the bottom of the eastern pit of the 2-pit room. There's a small pool of oil in a corner of the pit. So we'll take the oil. Your bottle is now full of oil. We'll go up. You're at the east end of the 2-pit room. There's a huge beanstalk growing out of the west pit to the hole. We'll go west. In the west end of the 2-pit room, there's a huge beanstalk growing out of the west pit to the hole. We'll go down. In the west pit, there's a gigantic beanstalk stretching all the way up to the hole. This time, we'll climb the beanstalk. You scurry up the plant into the hole in the wall. There's a long, narrow corridor stretching out of sight to the west. At the eastern end of the hole, through which you can see is a profusion of leaves. So we'll go west. You're in the giant room. The ceiling here is too high for your lamp to show it. Cavernous passages lead east, north and south. On the west wall is scrawled the inscription Fee Fi Fo Fu, SIC. There's a large nest full of golden eggs here. Now SIC is Latin, and it basically means what's written here is what is correct. Fee Fi Fo Fu is correct. You may have heard of Fee Fi Fo Fum, but in this case it's not correct. Now, we'll go north. You're at one end of an immense north-south passage. The way north is barred by a massive rusty iron door. A strange malice suddenly afflicts you. You shiver with chill, and your muscles seem to turn to putty. Everything around you becomes grey and unreal. The fit quickly passes, and you find your body has degenerated back to what it was like before you ate the mushroom. Now we'll oil the door. The oil's freed up the hinges. The door will now move, although it requires some effort. We'll go back to the giant room. You're in the giant room. There's a large nest full of golden eggs here. Now we'll drop the bottle. We have no further need of it. Now we'll drop the food. We'll drop the teeth. We'll drop the rod. We'll drop the keys. Let's just check out what else we're carrying. Last Lantern, Dwarf's Axe, Sing Sword, Violet, Liquid. Okay, that's all we need. Now from here, we're going to go east. You're in a low tunnel with an irregular ceiling. To the north, the tunnel is partially blocked by a recent cave-in, but you could probably get past the blockage without too much trouble, so we'll go north. You're standing in a very large room, which however is smaller than the giant room, which has smooth, glassy-looking walls. A passage ends from the south and exits north. There's a large, nasty-looking ogre blocking your path. There's a little dwarf in the room with you. Now, if you throw the axe at the ogre, he catches it, throws it back to you, and cuts you in halves, cutting you in two. So I'm going to go south before I deal with the dwarf. You're in a low tunnel with irregular ceiling. There's a little dwarf in the room with you, so we'll throw the axe. You've killed a little dwarf. The body vanishes in a cloud of greasy black smoke, so we'll take the axe. And we'll go north again. You're in the large room with glassy walls. There's a large, nasty-looking ogre blocking your path, so we'll throw the sword. The sword halts in mid-air, twirls like a dervish, and chants several bars of Dai's Ire in a rough tenor voice. It then begins to spin like a ripsaw blade and flies directly at the ogre, who attempts to catch it without success. It strikes him full in the chest. There's a brilliant flash of light, a deafening roar, and a cloud of oily grey smoke. When the smoke clears, and the eyes begin working properly again, you see the ogre has vanished. The sword is lying on the ground, sparkling and flaming. Before your eyes it softens and melts, withers as if in pain, and shrinks rapidly, and all that's left is a small silvery ring, which cools rapidly. Now we're going to need the ring later, but not in the present, so we'll leave it where it is for now. And from here we will go north. You're in the Sorcerer's Lair. The walls are covered with exotic runes written in some strange indecipherable scripts. The only readable phrase reads, "No side Samot." Strange shadows flit about on the walls, but there is nothing visible to cast them. Iridescent blue light drips from a stalactite far above, falls towards the floor, and evaporates before touching the ground. A deep resonant chanting sound vibrates from deep in the ground beneath your feet, and a whispering sound composed of the echoes of long-forgotten spells and cantrips seeps from walls and fills the air. Passages lead to the east and west. Now, I'll explain No Side Samot when we need to use it. East we'll go. You are standing at the brink of what appears to be a bottomless pit, plunging down to the bowels of the earth. Ledges run around the pit to the east and west. A passage leads back to the north, so we'll go east. You're standing at the east side of a bottomless pit. A narrow ledge runs north towards a dimly visible passage. The ledge once continued south at this point, but has been shattered by falling rock. A narrow crack leads northeast, so we'll go northeast. You're following the narrow crack in the rock, which enters from the southwest, turns and twists somewhat, and exits the southeast, so we'll go southeast. You're standing at the northwest end of a rather tight passage. A narrow crack in the rock leads west. The passage to the south is swathed with sheets of evil-looking green slime, which twitches and flows as if aware of your presence. Now this slime will disintegrate your skin if you walked into it, so we're going to throw the vial, which is explosive. The vial explodes into splinters and disintegrates, releasing an oily liquid which rapidly sublines into a large mushroom-shaped cloud of bright green vapour, smelling like pine needles and seawater. The slime filling the passage to the south blackens and shrivels away into nothingness, which means we can now continue south. You're in the southern end of a tight passage. A hands and knees crawl continues to the south, so we'll go south here. And it says you're in a very small chamber. A narrow crack leads north. There's a casket full of rare black opals sitting on this shelf. So we'll take the casket. And now we're going to head back to the Sorcerer's Lair and go into the ice maze, but that will be in part 3. So thank you for watching part 2.